15 miles out of Louth, on the other side of the Darling River, you'll find Eldorado Station. Today, the old homestead is abandoned, but back in 1893, when paddle steamers carted wool down the river from Burke, it was occupied by a squatter and his family. His wife's name was Henrietta, and they had 3 small children. There being no schools of the air or correspondence courses in those days, a governess was usually hired to teach the station children, and in due course one was hired on Eldorado. Well, it wasn't very long before the squatter and the governess took a liking to each other, and an affair followed. One Sunday a picnic was organised on the bank of the Darling, and during the day Henrietta was drowned. Rumours spread that she was pushed in, but nothing was ever proven, and eventually the station was abandoned when the squatter and the governess went their way. Henrietta is buried in the sand dunes not far from the old homestead, and people in Louth swear that she haunts the old homestead and the paddocks to this day. Many shearers, in fact, will not work on Eldorado after strange experiences there in the past. A few years ago I was working in the area, and for 5 weeks we used the old homestead to camp in. It wasn't very long before we found out about the legend from the local people in Louth, and it also wasn't very long before some strange things happened. The experience fascinated me, and ever since I've wondered about it. Well, that's the story behind this song, which I called The Ghost of Eldorado. Beyond the little town of Louth in western New South Wales, there's a homestead by the Darling that's well known in campfire tales. Deserted and abandoned now these 80 years and more, it guards a guilty secret of a deed done years before. They call it Eldorado, and the local bushmen swear they've seen the ghostly figure of a woman lingering there. She stands beside the homestead in her robes of shimmering white, as she keeps her silent vigil through the lonely outback night. Now, according to the legend, Henrietta was her name, victim of 3-cornered love, a faithless husband's shame. For it was the children's governess who'd turned the squatter's head, and a husband's tender love soon turned to secret lust instead. As time moved on, deceit and hate had sown the devil's seed. The guilty pair in secret met, their thoughts were dark indeed. And all the while the squatter's wife was blind to this affair. No friend had Henrietta, no warning to beware. Now downstream from the homestead there's a pool that's wide and deep. The river sweeps around a bend, the banks are high and steep. Beside the pool a stretch of grass, a stand of river gums, a shady place for quiet rest, a shield from western sun. The story goes that Henrietta often passed this way, but ugly rumour whispers she was not alone one day. Who really knows what happened on that slippery river bank? For no one heard her frightened screams as Henrietta sank. They buried Henrietta near the homestead on a rise. Today a lonely headstone stands as sentinel where she lies. What took place on that tragic day in 1893? Surrounded by suspicion, did a guilty pair go free? Eldorado's long abandoned, but the local bush folks say the ghost of Henrietta roams the plains there to this day. Her restless spirit haunts the rooms within those ancient walls. They say her footsteps echo in the empty homestead hall. Now I've told to you the story of the Eldorado ghost. Perhaps you won't believe it, maybe scoff and laugh like most. But beyond the Darling River, out where travelers are few, I've camped on Eldorado, and I know the story's true.